Welcome to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. This is the final cast segment with your hosts Brad Hicks and Josh Eldridge, where we cast our final opinions on all products, good and bad. Welcome to the final cast. Welcome back to the final cast. I'm your host, Brad. Tonight, Josh isn't with us. He is working a crazy shift at his job, so tonight it's just me. We do have a familiar voice on the other line. It's Mr. Dan Perry.
That's me from the real down.
And we got a guest tonight, Marvin Forte. How you doing?
Hey, doing great. Good to see you guys.
Good stuff. Well, this episode, we're going to be talking about native kayaks. This is going to be part of a series that we've been doing. We've covered a couple different brands already. It's Native's turn. We want to get as much info out there to the listeners as much as possible so they can make their choice on what kind of kayak they would like to float. So Native, I bring on two of the Native pro staffs, and Dan and Marvin here. So let's start off with you, Marvin. I guess we can go into your background a little bit. Tell us where you're from, what you do, and what kind of kayaks you've been in.
Sure. Well, I live up in Oregon, just outside of Portland, Oregon now. I moved here a couple of years ago from Phoenix, Arizona. When I was in Arizona, that's when I got on Native Pro staff. And I've had like 4 different kayaks with Native. Started with a Slayer 12, moved up to a Manta Ray Propel 12. I've used the Slayer XC and the Slayer 12, and the Titan 10.5.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and this year I've got the Slayer Max coming and the Falcon 11 coming.
Yeah, that Slayer Max is what really interests me about this. When Dan mentioned you were coming out with this Slayer Max,
sure.
I'm like, oh man, I want to hear a little bit more about that. So
yeah, I'm super excited about that. I loved my Manta Ray Propel because it was really lightweight and fast. It was a really fast pedal kayak. And then when I went to the Titan 10.5, it was like really wide, really stable, but it was not very fast.
No.
So I'm trying to split the difference with the Slayer Max. I think that's going to give me the speed that I miss on the Manta Ray, but the Manta Ray didn't have a ton of storage, and it wasn't the most stable kayak. It was fine. I never flipped it or anything, but it was plenty stable enough. But I think the Slayer Max would be a little better for standing. I don't stand a ton when I fish, but if I'm sight fishing or something, I will.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be that happy medium, that Goldilocks boat.
Yeah, that's cool. You mentioned off air, but you said you run tournaments as well, right?
I do. I run Kayak Fishing Northwest. We have 3 divisions where we do tournament series in Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. We've got 21 live events this year and another 20 online events. So, yeah, it's going to be a busy season.
It sounds like it.
We'll definitely get you on a reel down, too, at some point this year.
Nice.
Yeah, I like I said before we went on air here, we covered the Washington Trail a couple times.
Sure.
Interesting because I've never really, I've never heard of bass fishing in Washington. I mean, I know it exists up there, but you don't hear about it. You know what I mean? It's
true. I mean, the 3 states, there's a lot of smallmouth in those 3 states, but there's also a lot of largemouth. And I'm really close to the Columbia River. I fish the Columbia a lot, and a 20-inch smallmouth is not uncommon there. Usually you can catch 1 or 2 of those a year, and that's a big smallmouth. I don't care where you live.
Oh yeah, that's a trophy in Ohio. I'm still chasing a 20. I've gotten close, but I can't.
Do you ever fish for don't they have big sturgeon there too, in the Columbia?
They do. A lot of my buddies, I haven't done it, but yeah, you can go up and fish in the Columbia and pull up 5, 6, 7, 8 foot sturgeon on the kayak and at least get them alongside the boat. You don't pull those in the boat when they're that big. But,
yeah.
I've seen some videos. That's like a bucket list thing. That's very cool.
It's a lot of fun. They do a sturgeon social every winter. It's close to Christmas time that they do that, and a bunch of people get out there and line up and play with sturgeon for a day.
Yeah, I know Jay Randall goes out to Idaho, I think, for sturgeon.
Yeah, there's huge ones out there too in the Snake. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. The only way you're going to get a good picture with one of those is with a drone nowadays.
That's true. That would be cool if you could have drone footage right over, but
Yeah. All right. Well, what boat do you guys want to start out with? What do you want to talk about first?
Well, I'll let Marvin go first, and I'll go second since he's been on the team longer and has more experience with more native boats than I do.
Okay. You want to talk about the Slayer Max a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay,
Start
cool.
Start off with a bang.
The hot one.
Woo! Yeah, there's a lot of buzz about that boat. Everybody's really jazzed about that one.
Yep.
Well, it's 12 and a half feet, 34 inches wide. It's still a pretty heavy boat. It's about 95 pounds, but that's lighter than the Titan 10.5, which is one reason I wanted to move towards it as well, moving the Titans around. It's great for the really young guys that have a pickup and throw it in the back, but I've got a trailer, so it's not too bad. But, I look forward to a boat that's a little bit lighter.
Mm-hmm.
Capacity on that boat's about 500 pounds. They've really changed the way the front hatch works on that. They've moved the transducer bay up a little bit and made it big enough that you can use the side scan transducers now. It was a little tight before with those. And there's an integrated scupper under the hatch where you can put your electronics, put the battery. It's pretty good setup. And then one thing I like that they carried over from the old Slayer 12, the paddle kayak, is the space for two 3500 boxes right on the side. So whatever you're kind of fishing with that day, you can have two boxes right there. And then the seat base is the same,
I really
same
like
as the
that.
Titan. It's neat.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to use it all the time on my Slayer 12 because, usually whatever you're fishing that day is going to be two or three things that you kind of zero in on. And so a couple of boxes there and a couple in the seat base. And, you don't have to reach behind you all the time. The new drive, I'm pretty excited about that. They've integrated the weed guard. I always used a third-party weed guard on my Propel drives, but it's pretty cool having it built in, a little more solid than some of the plastic ones. And what else? What am I leaving out?
It has the bike style foot pedals.
Yeah.
It does, which I had upgraded.
Yeah.
I had upgraded that on my Titan, but they're built in that way now, and you can put the screws in or out.
Are those plastic or metal foot pedals?
They are plastic. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you able to put like metal bicycle?
Sure.
Pedals?
Yeah.
Okay.
They use standard bike pedals, so yeah, you can swap it out with anything that you want to use.
That's really cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I did a demo day in the summer and had my pedals on there, and then a bunch of people showed up and wanted to get in barefoot and pedal, which didn't work so well.
Yeah.
But we ended up using a different drive that didn't have those pedals on it. But yeah, that all worked well. They've upgraded the rudder as well. It's a little longer. Because that was one thing with the native kayaks. A lot of guys were upgrading out of the Boondocks or the Burley Pro rudders. And now with this new rudder, not that big a deal. I don't know. With my Titan, I really didn't feel like I ever needed to upgrade the rudder. I thought the turning radius on that was ridiculous. And I'm hoping that the Slayer Max has that same great turning radius that the Titans do.
See, I saw a video that they released when they first announced it, and that guy was turning the radius. It looked incredible for a boat that size. I was like, man, that looks nice.
You can do donuts. I mean, you're going fast, and when you're going fast and you hit that rudder hard on the Titans for sure. I mean, you kind of feel like you're going to pop out of the boat.
Yeah. So going back up to that transducer mount, that's inside of the hatch. It looks like it's like right behind the front hatch, right? But it's still under the lid.
It's under the hatch, and the transducer mount is near the back of the hatch. So in front of the propel drive, and near the back of the hatch is where that is, which is great because when you're fishing, you want that transducer really a little in front of you.
Yeah.
Versus in the back of the boat or something. Your readings will be a little bit more accurate to where you're fishing.
Yeah. See, I'm in a bonafide, so a lot of guys put their transducer on the dry pod. So it's kind of similar, but I'm thinking the transducer for the Slayer Max is a little bit more up front than
more forward. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, the Bonafide is very similar to the Slayer XC, the way that works, because it's got a removable pod like that you can basically just put all your electronics in that pod and drop it in there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So these foot drives or propel drives, are they interchangeable between boats?
Yeah, pretty much. There were a couple little things they changed. The thwart bar in front, which is what where it's attached. The width on that changes sometimes with different boats, depending on the width of the boat. And I think they changed. Did they change the crank arms on a couple of the boats? On one of the Titans, I think they were having an issue with it being not enough room. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And in between where the hull of the boat is and where the pedals go, but just because of the narrowness, you don't have a lot of clearance. So I haven't heard anybody talk about that, but yeah, I don't know. From the 60, because I have a 601 drive with the 2019, and that would be a 701. So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that question asked before. Good question, Brad. I like it.
Hey, that was actually I think Brian or Josh's question, because I asked them if they had anything they wanted me to ask. So, I think Josh did mention he was curious how easy it is to remove the drive and service it if it needed.
That's a great question. The drive is super easy to remove. That's one of the things that I like the best about the Propel drive is the thing's built like a tank. You know, you can crash into stumps, you can crash into rocks, and it'll actually give a little bit. It'll come back versus some of the other drives out there that have no give built into them. So if you hit something's going to break. The Propel drive really won't. It'll kick up just a little bit on you.
Okay.
And they make a latch so you can keep it down.
That's right.
But I don't think anybody does that, because whenever the weight of it keeps it down. So whenever you do hit a stump or you hit a log, the drive will pop up a little bit, and it has some give, but just the weight of it keeps it down. So that not only is it, like Marvin said, built like a tank, but kind of one of the great things about how it's built into it is it has some give to it. So if you do hit something, you're not going to kill your drive.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't latch that latch unless I'm really cranking. If I want to get somewhere fast and I'm pedaling hard, because then once in a while it'll cavitate and pop up or something. Yeah. So then I'll do the latch. But like you said, if you were to hit something and that latch was there, well, then what's going to happen is that latch is going to break. And it's just a little plastic latch that costs about $5 to replace. So big deal. It's a sacrificial part that's in there just in case it happens. But yeah, I'm with you. I hardly ever latch it unless I'm really pedaling hard somewhere. And the other cool thing about the design of it is there are no parts. There are no parts to take off when you want to remove the drive. You asked about taking the drive off. You actually slide 2 or 3, that third latch, if you have it latched, you slide those 2 latches and then you can just lift the drive right off. And there are no little screws or nuts or wings or any of these other things that a lot of the other drives have in order to attach them. That, you know, what happens when you're on the boat and you've got little parts like that is you take it off and it falls down a scupper hole and it's gone.
Yeah. I'm looking at a picture of the drive right now. It just looks like such a simple and sleek design.
It is.
And that handle as well, for me, whenever I'm thinking security, that's a big reason I would take my drive out of the boat. But I don't have to do that with the Native, because I have like it's called a master lock Python. And it's just a cable with a lock on the end of it. And I put that through the 2 handles, and I put it through the handle on the drive, and I secure it to my truck. And I don't have a problem with having to take my drive off at night or whenever I'm going down the road or something like that. And the weight of it keeps it down. But I think initially, whenever I first bought my Native, that was the biggest thing that drove me to a Native is I want a drive that is going to be bulletproof. I want a boat that I know I'm not going to go out there and hit something and it costs me $1,000, which I probably don't have to fix on my boat right then. Because, I mean, I love to fish. I love being on a kayak, but it's a hobby to me. So coming up taking $1,000 from the family because I broke my drive. Just it wasn't something I wanted to do. So I wanted something super durable and super reliable. And I think every brand is great out there. There's pluses and minuses to all of them. They're all like, you can't have a minivan and have a race car. They all do something different. They're all engineered different. And I think on the spectrum of durability and reliability for native, that would definitely be the top one to me of whenever I'm looking for a kayak and looking for a drive. That's, to me, native, that's like where they stand out more than any of the other ones is the durability and reliability.
Yeah, absolutely. You asked about maintenance too.
Yeah.
I do all the maintenance on my own drives, at least the standard maintenance, unless, something breaks, I might get some help. But, it's really not that difficult. You need a couple of tools that are specialized for it. You need a spanner wrench that will open up the casing where the gears are, the upper gear casing, and a different size spanner wrench for the bottom. But Burley Pro makes a spanner wrench that's got both of those built into the spanner wrench. And you need a crank arm puller to pull the crank arms off. So you pull the crank arms off, you take the spanner wrench, you open up that gear casing. About once a year, I go in there, I clean all the old grease out, and I add some new grease to the gears, and I close it back up. And then I do the same thing on the bottom. And that's it. It takes about maybe 30 minutes.
That's not bad.
Not bad at all.
Oh, yeah. So it's basically like maintaining your wheel bearings on a trailer or something.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very similar to that.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
And there's usually if you don't want to get into it, there's a lot of videos online of people doing it. I know like Bam out at Headwaters, and there's a few different. Yeah, there's a few different ones out there. I can't think of her name right now. I can't think of it. She lives in Utah, and
Catherine Field.
Yeah.
I thought it was Field. I was sitting here trying to find it on my phone. She just took her drive apart. She's like, well, to hell with it. I'm going to do it. And she opened it up, got the wrench, and she did it herself. And I've never even done it because I just, once or twice a year, I take it to my dealer. They do it. Doesn't cost much. So you can either do it yourself or you can take it to your dealer. They'll hook it up.
There are people who do their own oil changes, and there are people who don't. And there's room for both in the world, right? But but Catherine did a good video on hers, and I gave her a lot of tips before she did it. I was talking to her about it, and I sent her Bam's video. You mentioned Bam's video, and I sent that to her and said, "Here's a good video of what you need to do." And she figured it out. It's not that complicated.
Yeah, I haven't tackled it myself, but I'm sure one day I'll get the wrench and I'll do it. For now, my dealer I get to go hang out with my dealer for a little bit.
Hey, when you do that, record it. We'll put it on the Paddle and Fin YouTube page.
Will do.
Cool.
One other question about the drive. I think Brian had this question. I didn't know if you guys knew of any plans for gear ratio on the Propel drive, like them upping it.
I don't think so. I don't see that happening. They've looked at options of different things to try. They've tried different propellers. And they actually changed the propeller at one point because of cavitation issues. One thing you run into with these pedal drives and with boats is the hull of the kayak has a certain speed that it wants to go, or a certain maximum speed that it wants to go. Yeah. And it's really hard to get it to go beyond that. So I think when you start talking about things like gear ratio, it's in order to try to get more speed out of it, but the truth is you wouldn't get that much more speed out of it. I mean, they all are between 3 and 6 miles an hour. Every pedal kayak out there is between 3 and 6 miles an hour.
Hey guys, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. My son, he's been sick and he's having respiratory issues, so unfortunately I have to go.
It's all good.
Yeah. Marvin, you've had the Titan, so you'll have to talk it up for me. I'm sorry, but we might have to go to a hospital on that. So I'll talk to y'all later.
That's terrible. Good luck.
Hey, man, be safe.
All right, bye.
See ya. All right, so we're going to continue with Marvin here. Where were we?
We were talking about maintenance on the Propel drive.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I lost my train of thought.
Well, that'll throw you for a curve for sure.
Yeah, it's all good though.
Didn't expect that.
I just hope his son gets better. That's
Me too.
That's the
Me too.
important part.
Yeah.
I guess we can go into the materials. The material of the propel drive. What does that consist of?
I believe it's all cast aluminum, the outside of it. So it's all basically aluminum and steel. There are some plastic parts on it, but mostly it's aluminum and steel.
And is that all one piece or is it two piece?
It is. I mean, there are a lot of pieces, but when it's assembled, it's one piece that you removed from the kayak.
Okay. Cool. Let's see here. I got a picture pulled up of the Slayer Max, and I'm seeing coming back away from the drive because I think we hit that pretty well. Mm-hmm. Electronics panel.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool new feature that people had requested. People get worried about drilling holes in their kayak hull, and so that's another sacrificial part on this boat. That panel is the perfect place if you're adding LEDs and you need switches. You want to put charging ports for your phone. There's enough room on that panel to put quite a few switches or plugs. And it's easy to replace that. If you change your mind, you want to pull that stuff off the kayak, well, then you can replace that panel for a few bucks.
That panel, I'm thinking of the bona fide plate on the back. Is that what it is? Kind of similar?
It's very similar to that, yeah. I think on this one, I'm not sure if that is starboard or if it's rotomolded on the Slayer Max, but it's one of those, and it's just a flat panel that screws into the kayak. They put brass inserts so you could screw it into the kayak in a sturdy way, but it's to get around that fear people have of drilling holes in their boats.
Yeah, I kind of feel like drilling a hole in a kayak kind of devalues it too. You know what I mean? Like, because the person buying the kayak, they always want like a clean slate. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So.
Yeah, the last one I sold it with the fish finder because I had already drilled the holes. I had put the through ports. Everything was wired and run. And it was like, and I was thinking about going to a little bigger graph this year anyway.
Yeah.
So, he just bought it with the graph and everything. Made it easy.
I did that with my 127 back in October. And, I sold everything without rod holders. If it was attached to the kayak, it was with it. Because I didn't want to sell somebody a kayak with some holes and stuff in it.
Sure.
They'd have to plastic weld it and all that stuff. So.
Yep.
So the seat. How do you feel about that seat?
For me, it's one of the, if not the most comfortable seat in the industry. Native was really the first one to do this lawn chair style seat. And sort of everybody followed them after they did it because it was a great idea. But yeah, it's super comfortable, and I can sit in it for 8-10 hours fishing and not have any problems. And there's a high-low position on that seat. The seat base, the way it works on the Slayer and on the Titans, is there's a rotomolded seat base that you attach to the kayak, and then the seat goes on top of that, and it gets screwed in the front, and then there's bungees to hold it in the back. And you can put it in a low position, especially if you're in wind or in current or offshore. You can go in the low position and you get a lot more stability. Not as worried about tipping over. Or you can put it in the high position when you're on calmer waters.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, the bottom base that you're talking about. It goes into gear tracks that have them on the sides of the boat, right? Down on the bottom platform?
That's right. There are gear tracks that run along the bottom of the inside of the hull.
Okay, and then
it attaches to those.
Tightens it down?
That's right.
Okay.
There are thumb screws that go down into that track and basically lock it down. So when I'm transporting the kayak, I usually will pull the seat off and the propel drive off I know Daniel had said he usually keeps his on, but I pull it off, throw it in the car when I'm loading it on the trailer. But I always leave that seat base in because it's so low profile anyway, and it's locked in pretty tight.
Yeah. So that seat base, like, it's kind of interesting because there's a lot of kayaks where their seat will sit into the actual mold of the kayak. And that kind of causes a lot of issues with cracking and stuff. You're not going to get that with that Slayer Max seat because it's sitting on that big base. I'm guessing if you do have issues, the base is going to crack, and then you're going to have to replace it maybe. But I don't know how much of a problem that's going to be.
Well, and it's rotomolded, so it gives,
Yeah.
like the plastic of the kayaks, it flexes, in the sun and heat and cold. It's going to move around and stuff anyway. One reason that I leave the seat base in is exactly what you're describing, because it does give and flex, and sometimes it's a little harder to get the screws into the track where you want them to go. So if I leave the base locked in, then it's usually really easy to put the seat in. Back on my old like Slayer 12, it worked the way you were describing, where it had slots that were molded into the kayak that you had to put the seat into. And if you had stored the kayak on its side for a while and you went to put the seat in, like it didn't want to fit. You have to push out on the kayak and kind of force the seat to go down in there, or put it out in the sun for an hour on its bottom, and it would give and stretch out.
I used to be in a Old Town Predator MX, and that was one of the common problems people had, their seats not fitting in between the gunnels.
Yeah, that seat works the same basic way. That one's a little more complicated, but yeah, it's the same thing. It's got those slots that you have to slide the seat down into.
Yeah, that's cool though. I like the base idea. That gives me a little bit peace of mind. Like if I'm interested in getting this kayak, that's one of the selling points, I think.
It's great for storage too. It will hold about 4 3,500 or 3,600 boxes. Or if you have the big 3,700 boxes, you can put a couple of those down there as well. There's also some little holders for tools that you can use on it, and it's got some little tie downs so you can tether your tools to the base.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know you could do all that.
Yeah, there are a lot of little features like that you look at the boat and you go, oh, they really thought about this. There are little details that they thought about. And for some reason, Native doesn't really talk about those things much. They just are like, oh yeah, we just put that in there to make it easy for you. Great. Cool.
Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, we did that. I mean, it was on accident. No,
it was nothing,
That's funny. So this, moving back from the seat, I think we covered the seat pretty well. It looks like you guys have like a huge well back there. How big is that?
I don't have the measurements on it, but it is big. It's at least as big, I would say, as the one on the Titan 12. It's not as wide as the Titan 12, but that bay is really deep. I mean, there's plenty of room to put a black pack turned long ways. That will easily fit in there. He's back.
I'm back. Sorry about that little emergency.
It's all good. So we're talking about the rear well on the Slayer Max now. We're working towards the back. And
okay.
He just mentioned that you can turn the black pack either way in the very back. So that's pretty
and the
cool.
Max too.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I know I can do that in my Titan. That's one of my favorite. I really enjoy that. I think somebody like. You see Greg Blanchard, and he's got this big, massive thing in the back, and I just have a regular black pack, but I can put a bunch of rods on it, so it's great,
Yeah, I've got a buddy with a big Husky toolbox, same ideas as what Blanchard did, and he's got 8 rod holders on it and everything, and he had a Titan 13.5 last. He's gonna have the Titan 12 this season. He's a Native Pro staff guy. But yeah, he's a little worried about how well it's going to fit in the 12, and we'll see. We'll see if it fits in. I know it wouldn't fit in the Max, but I think the black pack will be just fine. I don't think I'll have any trouble.
This this live well, the rear well here. Are you able to store coolers back there, like the Yeti or anything?
Sure.
Okay, it's that big.
You don't have a black back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
exactly. Yeah, I don't have the measurements on that bay, but so I'm not sure exactly how big a cooler would go back there, but absolutely a small to medium sized cooler would go.
That's cool. Yeah, that's another big selling point for I know a lot of people. Storage is important. For me, it's important. So you got the waterproof hatch, you got a rudder, it looks like, and then power pole ready on the back. So that's
ready to just screw right in. Yeah,
pre-drilled holes on the back.
Yeah, with brass inserts, so you don't have to worry about strength, because those brass inserts are molded into the kayak when they make it.
And it's pretty similar to the SS127 in that regard. They have the same thing on the back.
The other thing that I didn't realize until recently that they've done, which is just, it's such a simple little thing, but it's genius, is, there's a piece of track along the back where the two handles are. That's also track. And one issue on the Titans is if you wanted to attach something to that track, you couldn't get a T-bolt in past the handles. The handle would stop the T-bolt from sliding into the middle. So you'd have to get your screwdriver out and unscrew the handle and take it off, and take the handle off and then put your T-bolt in and all that. Well, what they've done is there's a slot right in the middle of this track where you can just drop a T-bolt in and slide it over.
That's nice.
Hey, that's my dog. Sorry. He's excited. He's like, who are you talking to?
Don't worry, that happens all the
time. He loves that idea.
But if you look at, stop it, Marvin
Yeah, Hopping Outdoors.
He's another of our Native Pro Staff guys, and he just did a total walkthrough on the Slayer Max, a video for that on his channel, and that was the first time I'd seen that slot. He showed it, and he's like, "This is great."
Yeah, isn't it funny, like how even the littlest thing like that just makes us happy?
Oh yeah, these tiny things. I'm gonna get
it's awesome. So I did not know that there was tracks on the back. I've looked this boat over. I've seen videos. I've never seen the little tracks on the back. I think that's cool.
The front handle too. The front handle is tracked.
Okay, that's real.
And the handles on the side are part of the track. That's something Native has done for a long time. Is they'll just install track along the way, and then they'll put those foam handles on the track. So you get a lot of strength out of those handles because you got all those different screw points all the way down the track.
I know y'all already talked about it, but the mounts on the front, have you decided, are you going to do something with that? Do you have something?
I think I'm going to do dual anchor wizard on the Slayer Max.
All right.
A lot of people will do micro power pole in the back, and then they'll do an anchor wizard in the front or something to get 2 points of anchor.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Part of me, I don't want that pole sticking up all the time. I already have my rods back there, and I already get those into trees too often. I don't need a giant pole getting in there, and the cost of it and everything, and and the weight, and just all those things. Another battery. So I like the idea of having an anchor wizard that goes up to the front and drops out of that front handle, because with the design of it, it's a little like the Bonafide.
It is.
There's a handle going perpendicular to the boat, and then that slot, so you can just drop an anchor right through that front handle, and then drop one out of the chute on the back, and bam, bam, there I've got my 2 points of anchor. I don't think I'll move even in Columbia River wind.
Oh yeah, that is cool. What are other things people are mounting on those back gear tracks that you mentioned?
Cameras. It's a perfect spot to put a camera if you're going to put that, behind your head view. It's really nice and far back to do it.
Your light pole.
The light pole. Exactly.
Yeah, that's good ideas. Throw a Yak Attack, that new camera mount pole on the back. That'd be cool. I don't know if you guys seen that or not.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That'd be real cool. Did we talk about the mount for the motor on the front?
We didn't.
What?
Yeah, I just saw that. Talk about that a little bit. I know that's kind of like a new Canoe feature a little bit. I know Derek Brundle, KBF fisherman, he throws his motor guide on the front there. Is that something that's made for?
That's one of the ideas with having the screws up there, is that you can put a trolling motor up there and control it. And I know Headwaters has done a couple of kayaks with motor guides up there.
That's cool.
And from what I've heard, kind of I don't know anything for sure, but I hear that there's definitely going to be some kind of trolling motors coming out this year for that 4-hole bracket. So at ICAST, so maybe there'll be something coming out this year that you'll be able to put on the front of that kayak.
Oh, what kind of room? Like, who's making those, do you think?
I don't even know. I've heard from a couple of people that there's some stuff coming out. So
the kayak fishing store has a bunch of different mounts for a lot of different native kayaks, for the back and the front. Like my Manta Ray Propel, he's got a mount on the back where you can add a power pole to that, which is tough because that kayak gets really skinny in the front and really skinny in the back. So he just puts a big piece of starboard that you can mount it to.
And that's a great promo for the kayak store. They're up in the Northeast, and they make so many cool things for the native. Like Marvin was saying, they've got, I mean, for the Ultimate, for the Slayer, they're just always coming out with new designs and new things. And that guy, he makes like you can send your Propel drive to him, and he'll custom paint it like any color you want. So you can trick out your drive. And
Chris Parson is the guy.
Yeah, Chris up there.
And, they have everything, and they're a great resource because they carry in stock all the parts for all the native kayaks too, all the Propel drive parts and the kayak parts. You know, dealers will usually carry some parts, but they don't carry a lot of parts. But he carries them all. So between native or him, usually you can get pretty much any part you need.
Yeah, that's nice. That's real nice. So I think we covered the Slayer Max pretty well. I mean, front to back here. We can switch over to the native Titan. I know the 12 is what Dan has, and then you got the 10.5. Is that what you were in?
I had the 10.5 last season. Yep.
Okay, and are both of these kayaks pretty similar? They're just a foot and a half shorter.
Yeah, and a different hatch.
Different hatch.
Yep.
Length and a different hatch. That's really
all right. Cool. So let's just go ahead and talk about that then. I mean, we'll pick out the differences between the 10 and 10.5 and the 12, but in general, let's just talk about the native Titan. Dan, what do you got?
Well, I have a couple of stats here on the Titan 12. It's 12 feet, 39 inches wide, so ultra wide, 109 pounds without the drive, 133 fully rigged, so it's definitely heavy. There's no doubt about that. It drafts 13 inches, 500-pound capacity. The 10.5 is 10.9, 37.5 wide, 97 pounds unrigged, 121 fully rigged. Again, 500-pound capacity. And then let's just say it, the Titan 13.5, it's a boat. It's a single man. It's a vessel. Yeah. You should say SS, whatever you name it. It's that one's 13.6, 41.5 inches wide. And let's just say you would have to be a strong man to pick up the fully rigged weight. Total, it's 178 pounds. So it really is like a boat. And the capacity is 550 pounds, which, wow, how could you put that? You know, what are you putting in there that's 550 pounds?
Two adult men.
yeah, seriously. And a lot of people, they'll carry their kids in the back of their Titans and things like that because you have so much capacity. But I've kind of seen where you can have a 13.5, but I haven't seen anybody tournament fishing that's really using more than a 12. Have you, Nick, up there?
It's the 12 is the Goldilocks size again with that. It really is the sweet spot. You know, they did the 13.5 first. That was the first one of the Titans, and people lost their minds about it. And they came out with the 12 and the 10.5. And the 12 is the one that seems like most people gravitate towards. You know, our teammate Kegan here in Oregon, he was in the 13.5 last year. And yeah, I've carried that thing up from the ramp with him and stuff and put it on the trailer. It's
heavy.
It's a bear. You got to be a young, strong guy for that.
I think for some lighter guy, maybe like Greg Blanchard, Mike Elsey, a couple other team guys, the super light guys that, there's no reason to have a 12. A 10 and a half is a good. So
Yeah, it was
yeah,
fine for me, and I'm not a tiny guy, but I'm
yeah,
average size.
yeah.
I did not
I'm a little
realize.
heavier than average, so I have the 12.
Well, yeah, I have that problem too.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that those Titans were that wide.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
39.
Again, that's kind of the engineering thing of where the Slayer Max is a good in between. The Titan is towards the other end of the spectrum, where if you're looking for ultimate stability,
Yep.
there just isn't a more stable boat. If stability and capacity are your things, Titan. And that's just, I don't think anybody can argue with that they are the most stable boat on the market for sure.
Yeah, I understand. I understand now. I've always heard you say that it's super stable, and I'm just like, what makes it more stable? But now I understand.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's the whole design, and it's that 39-inch width. Yeah, it is crazy stable.
It's not just where you have that first like in the Bonafide where you'll have that first stability, then you have your secondary. It's just stable the whole time.
That's right.
Like I'm 250, I get up, stand up. You never have that tip feeling, and then it's safe. It's just always safe.
Well, the Bonafide's got a ton of that initial stability too.
Yeah.
Dog just knocked a light over. So the Bonafide is really, initial stability is great on that boat too. But you're right, like the Slayer, my old Slayer, the initial stability, you could feel it go back and forth. And then you lean a little further and you feel it lock when it gets into that secondary stability. And from what I understand, the Slayer Max is going to be a little bit more like that. The Titan, just like you said, I mean, I can do dumb stuff in the Titan that I probably shouldn't do. Tipping my head over to the side to grab something. I've gotten good because I've used kayaks that were a little tippy about keeping my center of gravity right here.
Yeah.
But on the Titan, it kind of spoils you, where you can pretty much do anything. It's like being on a boat.
Yeah. Like knock on wood, but I truly, like, you go out in the winter, it's the ultimate winter boat because I don't know what you would have to do to flip it. I really don't. I mean, I'm sure there's a point where you could do it, but you can go out in the winter and feel safe. It would have to be something crazy to happen to tip that thing over.
I don't think I've heard of anybody flipping one yet. You can fall out of it, if you're standing up and you lean over, you'll fall out of it. But and even like the two boats in that class are the Titan and the Hobie PA, right? Those are the same basic class of boat. And even the PAs, I do know a handful of people who have flipped their PAs, but I haven't heard anybody who's flipped a Titan yet. It's just too flat and too wide.
Actually, being from the coast, like Biloxi and shrimp, you think Biloxi, you think shrimp boats, and the hulls made the same way. If you would look at like a lot of shrimp boats, it's more of just the way the rudder are built. I don't know how to explain it, but if you looked at the bottom of a shrimp boat and you looked at the bottom of that, they're made the same.
Interesting.
So it's a shrimp boat.
They stole their design. They stole the design from.
So you mentioned these things are 121 pounds, 130 pounds.
Yep.
What is it? The width plus a little bit more plastic that makes them heavier? Yeah. Okay. Hey.
And that's actually one of the kind of what I've heard is maybe some of the capabilities of, I think whenever everybody heard about the merger, heard about Big Adventures, where Bonafide and Native, they're still going to be their own brands, but they also come with their own competencies to where they have a new equipment and a new oven to where you hear the team manager and he's saying that we're going to be able to get a thinner hull and still have the same strength. So I would imagine that although the Titan is great now, I think here in the future, whenever the next iteration of it comes out, you're going to get one that's might be a little bit lighter because they're able to make the same strength hull but a little bit thinner plastic. So I think in the future, not only is Native and Titan a great boat now, but in the future it's even going to get better.
Oh,
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, and I don't know if I'm giving away trade secrets, but one of the things before was the boats that were like under 12 foot were made on a different rotomold than the 13.5 and the other bigger boats like that. And just like Daniel's saying, there was just more plastic on those boats.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different mold. It's a different device. And the one from Bonafide is newer, nicer. They're really jazzed about that one, and it should make a big difference in the manufacturing.
Yeah. So, just out of my curiosity, how thick do you think the hull is on the Titan?
When I put on a Forstner bit to drill a hole in the hull, it always shocks me. I'm like, man, it's still going. It's still going. Yeah. And then pop, it goes through. It's
5/16.
Yeah. It's at least 3/16 and maybe 5/16 in places.
That's crazy. Okay, so that I know. I'm trying to think. Other different brands that I've had, they're probably 3/16. So it's probably a little bit less than double, I would probably say.
It depends on the kayak, but that 13.5, the hull on that thing is thick. It is.
But again, so if you're buying a 13, like you're just getting a boat, Yeah. It's crazy.
I mean, you really ought to have a trailer that you can get down in the water and just water launch. That is the easy way to do it if you're doing the 13.5. And we did that with Keggins. We'd go to a lot of tournaments together, and we went and fished Lake Havasu last year, KBF trail event there. And yeah, that's what we'd do, is just back my trailer to the water and slide them right off into the water.
Yeah, that's what I like to do when I'm fishing lakes. Rivers is a little bit tougher, but
yeah, and I fish a lot of rivers too, and I love river fishing, and I love, I like fishing small water too, and that's why I'm getting the Falcon 11, is I want something little and light that I can fish those kinds of places.
Yeah, I'm trying to scale down on my river trips because the 127 is just a little bit too much for my rivers here in Ohio. Yeah. Especially when I'm by myself. I mean, I want something that I can drag easier,
Yeah. Well, Falcon 11, take a look. That's what I'm going to do. It's 52 pounds, I think, is the weight of it.
That's not bad at all.
And 11 foot, which is great for, class 2 rivers. Even up to class 3, you could do no problem with it.
Is that a sit-in or sit on top?
It is a sit on top.
Yep.
Paddle kayak, no pedal drive. It does have a transducer bay built in it, which is kind of neat for a inexpensive paddle kayak. It only costs $7.99.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's for a budget kayak with the standard native seat and a transducer bay and an electronics pod. I mean, it's a lot of features for a boat that cheap.
Yeah, so a lot of companies are doing this nowadays. You see Jackson with the Bite, Bonafide with the RS 117. It's pretty cool.
Everybody just wants to keep people having us and rather than making their first boat, have them go to a big box store and buy something that they're not necessarily going to be happy with. Mm-hmm. That, I think all these companies are starting to realize that if you give a product offering that's a little bit less expensive, they're probably not going to keep it that long for a lot of people, because people usually buy a boat and then a year later or so they'll move up to the next one because they realize they love the sport and they want something super nice. Mm-hmm. So why not make an offering at that price point too? And
absolutely, and they're going to hold their value better. You're going to be able to sell that that native boat or that Bonafide boat for more money than you would one of these other big box store boats.
Yeah, I see so many people online ask that same question. Is the Ascend a great boat? Is this a great boat or that? And I think a lot of times your best answer is going to be, even if it's on the secondary market where you're buying a native or whatever brand you like, if you're buying a secondhand one from somebody who's had one for a little bit, it's going to hold the value better than a Sun Dolphin or, Shadowcaster or whatever,
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think these cheaper kayaks are also getting more people in the sport also.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah.
It's awesome. they want to grow the sport, so they're offering all these different kayaks at a cheaper price point, and I think everybody's eating it up.
Yeah, but on the Titan, just going backwards, it's pretty much the same as a Slayer. Talked about that. They went with the 701 drive, which is the 2020 drive, where it has the weed guard and the integrated bicycle foot pedals. It doesn't have the side slots for the 3600 boxes, but there is a lot of on that Titan seat base. It's a high-low, and there's plenty of room. I put 4 on. I don't have a riser on mine. Some people decide, because the Titan is so stable, you can get a 3-inch lift on them, and even, I mean, you can be up super high if you want to, but you could fit. I've seen people with like toolboxes underneath their seats now, but I fit 4 3600s under mine with no issue at all. There's some little bungee cords that keep it down. Behind that, there's the tank well is just enormous. I have my black pack sideways, not just long ways, but I have 8 rod holders on it, and no problem there. Yeah. Well, I'm crazy. I came from a bass boat, so I carry way too much stuff. But I keep I have a big giant tub in my front hatch, and to me, even though I'm 250 and 5'11", 250, so I got some weight on me, I'm able to get up into that front hatch and access. I keep my food, or I have a big giant storage tray as well as my battery tray that I have. I keep a ton of stuff up there, and you're able to get to it real easy and get over the drive, so there's no issue there. So even if you don't want to keep everything in the back, you can keep a ton of stuff up front. And then behind that, I have a couple of aftermarket things. I really think, like Marvin was saying, you don't necessarily need them, but some people want to put rims on their truck. They want the big gnarly tires. So I've tricked mine out. I've got a few Burley Pro things, and I have the Next Level Designs handle. That one.
Oh yeah, Ryan. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. It's very cool, and I've even got the knob on it. But that one is like the most you don't need.
Yeah.
I love it. The little handle is cool, but yeah, I think anyone has to realize that Native, they're trying to keep the price point down, so a lot of people can afford it. And they've seen some things that people are having to buy aftermarket with the weed guard on the drive, a little bit longer rudder. So they're seeing the bike pedals, they're seeing things, and they don't want you to have to go buy that. So they're adding some of those things for the 2020. And so, but you can trick your stuff out as much as you want to, but you don't have to have it for it to be a complete and great functioning boat.
Yeah, they were paying a lot of attention to what people were doing. And it seemed like there was a high percentage of people that were swapping out the pedals and swapping out the steering cables. The old steering cables were steel, and now they've gone to a Spectra type material. Occasionally people would have those cables break because there was a fray point where they would attach. But yeah, I'm happy to see that they're paying attention and making those upgrades. The weed guard is another one. But you mentioned Ryan, the Next Level handle. He's up here in Oregon as well. And
oh, is he?
Yeah, people are chomping at the bit
for
the Slayer Max. They're like, do you have it for the Slayer Max yet? He's kind of waiting for me to get my Slayer Max so he can measure it, so he can see, so he can spec that out. But yeah, he measured Kegan's this past season, his Titan 13.5, to get the Titan measurements from that. Yeah.
I mean, I've got one with the 2 spacers, and I mean, it's like out of solid aluminum. It is a beautiful thing. I mean, just to look at it, it's almost like art.
It is. It's all billet aluminum that he does on a CNC machine. And I think when that becomes important, maybe it's not then just for show, is like you said, when people are putting seat risers in and they're raising their seat even higher, because then that handle becomes kind of hard to reach. And that's one thing that changed on the Titans this year is the seat is a little bit higher from the factory. Again, because they were paying attention to people buying seat risers. So they're like, all right, well, we'll make your seat a little higher.
Yeah, I
Another
love
difference on. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I love when companies pay attention to that kind of stuff and give the people what they want.
Yeah, they listen. They asked us about the Slayer before they came out with it. They're like, well, what should we do? give us your feedback. So all the pro staff people kind of chimed in on that, and a few of the pro staff guys were heavily involved with the design
awesome.
of that kayak. One difference on the Slayer and the Titan, because of that extra width, is on the sides of the seat. When you're in the Titan, there's a lot of space between the gunnels and the seat. So that's a great place to put your hog trough or your catch board or whatever you're using, and other things you can actually store in there. There's not so much room on the Slayer Max in that crack. There's a small gap there, so you could put something thin in there, but that's about it.
Like on mine, I not only do I keep on both sides of the seat you have little tool things so you can keep your scissors, your pliers, and all that. And I have a donkey leash there as well. But you have so much room on the side that I have my hog trough that I keep on the floor of the boat, and then my Boondocks Groovy landing gear is in the back, and I have roto grip, rod hold, paddle holders on there. So I keep 2 rods on that go front to back, and so I can really fit. I keep my paddle off to the side.
10 rods. Yeah.
So I have 8. Well, I can keep 4 that way if I need to. So in my boat, I can carry up to 12 rods.
Do I hear 16?
No, just 12. I try to keep it below. I try not to get crazy, and just 10 is my number.
Yeah, dude, I only own 5 rods, man. That's crazy.
Well, like I said, I came from a bass boat world, so
yeah,
I wanted the
4
capacity.
is difficult for me. I usually bring 4, but if I'm in a tournament, I might bring 5 or 6. But that's about.
It just depends on if you're on the fish or not. Because if you're on the fish, all you need is 2.
Well, that's the funny thing. I'll bring 6 rods out sometimes, but if they're hitting that one thing, I'm going to use that one rod all day long.
Yep.
And the rest is going to sit there.
I just have too much time to prepare. Like if I go out there and I don't have everything ready, I feel like I didn't prepare enough. So
you and Sam, dude. You and Sam are the same person. It's like a perfect pair on the Reel Down.
Yeah, that's why we're on the same show, I guess.
I love it. I'm glad that you brought up the spaces on the side. I was going to ask about that with the Slayer Max. You hit that, so that's cool. We can start winding this down, though. I do want to hear like a pro and a con, if you have any. You probably don't, but of the Native Titan. Takeaway stability, though. What's your favorite part of the boat?
Takeaway stability, capacity. I mean, it just really is. But no boat is perfect. I think whenever one thing people see a video and they see a little bit of water in the bottom where your feet are, and they're like, "Oh Lord, what is that?" I think for a lot of people, because whenever I first got mine, I didn't know what to do. I put a little bit of weight in the front, and it evened it out. So now
that's right.
I have very seldom have any water in the front, or I put in the scuppers, or if it's going to rain a bunch, I take them out, stand up, the water goes out, put scuppers back in. So I think that kind of holds some people off from the Titan. So that hadn't been an issue for me once I figured out, because I had so much crap in the back. Because I carry 12 rods, I got 10 tackle boxes, my lunch box in the back, my power pole, and everything else on the back. That once I moved some forward, I was good. So I think that can be a negative. And the weight, it is, but because you can't engineer everything perfectly, like I said before. Yeah. So to have something that's stable, if you want something that's stable, the thing you're giving up is weight. For me, one person, I have a trailer now, but before that, I put in the back of my truck. It's heavy getting up the ramp, but I think a normal person can do it. But it is definitely heavy. If you have health issues or something like that, and you don't have a trailer where you can just launch it right on the water, it would be more of a difficult boat for you, for sure. Yeah. And then you'd have to look at something else.
And age, depending on what age you are and whether you want to move a boat that big. Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. And the other, I think not even about the boat, but me being newer to the team, is I'm just happy with Native. I mean, I call them, I talk to them. The customer service is great. If you look at all the different Facebook groups, there's so many people talking about it and trying to help each other. That's great. You've got Chris up at the Kayak store, who's making all these cool aftermarket things, next level designs with the handles. So it's not only do you get a kayak, you take it home, you don't know what to do with it, but you have all these different information that you can get and different companies that you can go for to trick it out, and or if you need help or anything else. So and that's, you have to have that.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. There's this trade-off that happens, and sometimes people don't realize that, especially if they're new, that you have to give something to get something else. And so if you want a kayak that's really stable, and that's what we see all the time, and I think that's fear-based. I think people generally say that because they're afraid of flipping a boat, and they're thinking about, river kayak people that are rolling their boats and stuff, and they think, oh, that's what it's going to be like if I'm a kayak angler. But the truth is, like, what you got to ask is what's stable enough for you. It is, and people they gravitate towards the really wide kayaks, the Titan, the Hobie Pro Angler, the new Canoe and stuff, because they are so wide and stable. But you got to think about what you're giving up. You're giving up stability, you're giving up speed. You're giving up maneuverability. I don't know. I prefer kayaks that are a little narrower and a little faster than a really big, fat, wide kayak. And that's what I had last season. I'm like, well, let me do this for a year at least and see. And, I really dug it in a lot of ways, but I also missed that speed and maneuverability.
So really the answer is more kayaks. Just have a bunch of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is no one size fits all kayak. There's just no such thing.
So that's basically your con for the Titan 10.5 then.
Weight and speed are my cons on it. Yeah.
Okay. So what's your pro?
I'm right with Daniel there. I think if you're going to take stability out of it, then it's the storage is great. I like the lines of that kayak a lot. It's got a really nice line to it. It looks really cool. So did the Manta Ray. Same thing. That's a really sleek looking boat.
It's got some junk in the trunk, man. I dig that.
It does.
I'm okay with that.
Back thing, right? Like that freaked a lot of people out when they first came out with the Titan. Like, what happened? Because no one had done that. Like nobody chopped off the back of a kayak. But what happened is because of the way the rudder is configured and that chopped off back, that's what creates that insane turning radius that the Titans have. And the Slayer's going to have the same thing because it's got that same junk in the trunk.
Awesome. Well, I had to throw that curveball in there because I know you mentioned native and everybody's always like stability. So I just wanted to hear something else.
With Titan, for sure. It's going to be interesting to see if that's still the buzz now, if the Slayer Max sells like it has been, if it continues to sell like it has been, and a lot of people are going to Slayers. It's going to be interesting to see what the buzz is then.
I can see it as more of an all-around boat that kind of suits more people. I think the Slayer Max is probably where a lot of people are going to fall. The Titan will take a hit, but it's that good middle ground like the Bonafide 127 where you can do a little bit of everything with it. Slayer Max is going to suit a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's where I think like that Slayer XC. For me, that's the one to compare to the Bonafide because they're paddle kayaks. They both have ridiculous initial stability, right? They're both really stable and have lots of storage. The difference is that skeg. The retractable skeg on the XC means if I put that skeg down, I get on the lake and paddle, and it tracks just as straight as can be. And then I pop that skeg up, and you can take your paddle and do one big stroke like this and turn 180 degrees in one stroke.
That's cool.
So when you're on a river, you pop that skeg up, and now I've got all this control for staying where I want to stay. And that's what the Bonafide, I love that boat. It is a super stable boat. I love a lot of the features on it, some of the really cool things that Luther and his team came up with on it. But it's not the greatest riverboat because of
the catamaran hull.
Because of the stability, the tracking of it. It's sort of like the Wilderness Radar. It tracks really well, which means it's not a great riverboat. It's more of a lake boat.
Gotcha. Well, cool. We're a little bit over an hour here, so we can start winding it down. Yeah, well, I mean, I have a feeling we could talk forever. I mean, if we could. So.
Indeed.
That they have such a big lineup and so many different things. You could go all night. Yep.
Oh yeah. So I guess quickly here, I just wanted to get your opinions on the merger. How do you guys feel about it?
I feel pretty good about it. I think that it's going to be really interesting to see when the mind meld happens, when in 2 years, 3 years, when we start coming out with some of these new products where you have all those minds working on it together. What are they going to come up with?
Yeah,
that's going to be really interesting.
I could see some big industry changing things coming in the future.
I think for me, I see, obviously, Luther, for him, he's the manufacturing guru. He comes from that background, whether it's Yak Attack. The man, he is great at manufacturing. And you take what the design team and what everybody at NATO's was able to do before, and then you're able to make those processes better. I think you're only going to come out with a better kayak. So I'm excited. I'm excited to be on the team. I'm excited to see where it goes. And if anybody has any questions about Native, shoot me an email or holler at me on Facebook. I'm excited to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm already working with Native. I'm already talking to some of the people that came over with Luther that are on the team at Native now too. So there are different people we're talking to, and so far great. I got no complaints at all.
Awesome, man. I know I'm excited as a bona fide team member, man. I'm kind of hoping that Propel Drive comes over to bona fide.
Yeah.
That drive's awesome.
There's going to be some things that are going to bleed over. They'll be their own companies, but the technology will be shared, I'm sure. So
yeah,
I don't see how there wouldn't be one. Yeah.
127 with the Propel Drive. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be.
Well, all right, man. We're gonna wind this down. Marvin, you got any plugs? Anybody you want to thank? Any sponsor shout-outs?
I think we already did. Sponsor shout-outs, yeah. Next Adventure is my dealer up here. They're our #1 sponsor for Kayak Fishing Northwest. They've been a great supporter. NRS is another big sponsor of ours. So those are my top two.
The best stuff. Oh, yep. I love their stuff.
I do too.
Yeah.
Great.
Like you put some of their stuff on, some of their clothes, their tops, their paddling tops, and it's like, God, they know what they're doing. It's so good. That's so nice.
Dan, I'll give you the option too. I know you don't get to do it very often, so who
no, I only have Native. I'm a one man kind of guy.
Okay. We need to get you on the Bending Branches team, man.
Yeah, I don't paddle that often though. I have one on my lunchbox paddle park, which if you don't have one, see Chris at the kayak store. I don't know why more people don't have them. You're able to keep your paddle out to the side. I'm like, why doesn't everybody have one of these? But
I could talk 10 more minutes about that for sure.
I love saying it.
Like a whole nother subject.
It's the funnest thing in the world to say. TKFS Lunchbox Paddle Park. I just want to say it over and over.
Well,
but yeah.
Let's do this. Since we're a product review segment here, maybe we can have you come back on again, and then we can talk about the kayak store. Even have the guy who runs it on the.
Chris would be
that's
great.
who you should have on this show for sure. He is amazing what he's doing.
Yeah, we could talk about them. We could talk about Dakota Lithium batteries. We could talk about all kinds of other people that are doing great products.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Marvin. Thanks again, Dan, for setting it up and hooking all this stuff up so we could talk.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
It's been fun.
Appreciate it.
We'll talk to you guys next Thursday. I always want to say Friday because I'm used to being on the reel down still. I don't know why. But, yeah, we'll see you guys next week, and you guys have a good weekend.
Awesome.
You too.
Go check out the website, guys, paddle, the letter N in fin.com. Also, check out YouTube, youtube.com/paddleandfin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest, feel free to email us at paddle, the letter N, and fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're doing giveaways, announcements, things like that at Facebook and Instagram at Paddle and Fin. Shout out to our show supporters, Rocktown Adventures, Loveland Canoe and Kayak, Hammered Lures, Fish Mob Lures, TRC Covers, Ketch Products. Go to ketchproducts.com. You could put the Paddle and Fin logo right on your catch board. Don't forget to go over and pick up your JigMasters Jigs. Use promo code PNF20 and save 20% today. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. It helps grow the audience, helps others find our podcast. So please drop a 5-star rating in on the podcast platform you're listening on. Don't forget about the recycled plastics program, you guys. Take your used plastic baits, put them in an envelope, mail them to the address in the show notes. Our man Eric Richards at Hammered Lures melts those down, makes new baits, and donates them to various chapters of Heroes on the Water.